You may be asking yourself, where can I find a good movie review these days?
I need a movie review I can trust. I don't know what to do.
After Siskel and Ebert died, whose thumbs can I trust for movie reviews?
We have answered your requests and prayers. Yes, we've heard you. Welcome to Scuffed Movie Reviews with the Free Rotation Podcast.
Free Rotation Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Free Rotation Podcast, also known as Scuffed Movie Reviews.
Scuffed Movie Reviews! And Netflix.
True, and Netflix. Today we're talking about both Spider-Man Far From Home and Season 3 of Stranger Things. It's been a busy week. It's holiday weekend.
Lots of things came out on the television/movies.
Things got set on fire. Like my heart.
Oh.
That's from all the chicken wings, though.
Okay.
But yeah, I think we're talking about Spider-Man first, right?
Yes.
So for those who haven't seen it, here's a brief synopsis. Following the events of Avengers Endgame, Peter Parker is recruited by Nick Fury, Maria Hill, and Quentin Beck to face the elemental threats from another dimension while he's on a school trip to Europe. Because that's what you do when you're going on a school trip. You fight bad guys, apparently. I wish I could do that.
Well, it's funny because it's gone from Homecoming to Far From Home. So it's the switcheroo. And it did a good job of explaining what the blip was at the end of Avengers Endgame, basically.
So is the next one Spider-Man the Orphan?
Wait, why?
Because he's Homecoming, he's far from home. Now he doesn't have a home.
It's Home Alone. Spider-Man Home Alone.
But yeah, it's directed by John Watts. It's Tom Holland's back as Peter Parker. Most of the cast returns. The newest people are Jake Gyllenhaal as Quentin Beck / Mysterio.
Yes.
And then I think that's the only really new person.
I think everybody was basically the same people from the original movies, but they've added Jake Gyllenhaal. Surprisingly a good Mysterio.
Mm-hmm. Yes. He's a good actor. But before we dive into spoilers and everything else, what are y'all's overall thoughts of the film, spoiler-free rating?
I actually preferred it over Avengers Endgame. So I give it about an 8 out of 10. I think it was really good. I think it was what I liked about it was that it ended up not being a super depressing movie. Whereas we get to the end of Avengers Endgame and everybody is mourning the loss of Tony Stark. And this one does a good job of hearkening back to him, but it's kind of focused on Peter Parker just wanting to be a kid and then him taking over the mantle as Spider-Man and one of the main Avengers.
I enjoyed it. Again, I'm really picky about CGI. Some of the CGI wasn't great in some parts, but overall, I liked it. I don't think it's better than Homecoming because I liked Michael Keaton as a villain more than I like Jake Gyllenhaal, but it's good. I would recommend everyone see it. I give it a 7 out of 10. What about you, Angie?
I thought it was good. I liked that the focus was more on Peter Parker as a person and as Spider-Man, but I didn't particularly care for Jake Gyllenhaal. But I guess we can't quit him, so.
Broke back.
I got it. I got there.
Yeah, and I like Jake. That's when I was looking at a lot of the reviews online. Either they loved Jake Gyllenhaal or did not like Jake Gyllenhaal at all. It was kind of hit or miss.
I think he was a little too over the top. I think that was my problem. It was like he was a cartoonish character, whereas I think the Marvel movies have kind of left it from being too super cartoonish. I think he made Quentin Beck, which I didn't really know a lot about Mysterio to begin with, but the fact that he kind of was a cartoon, evil villain, haha, I'm here to steal your invention, blah, 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 kind of feeling was what I got.
Yeah, and it's really weird because you go from Michael Keaton's Vulture, which in Homecoming was a really sympathetic villain because you understood where he was coming from, to this over-top guy. It's like, not great. So, but...
Yeah, it doesn't really have a reason. Like, Tony Stark took your invention... It sold each unit for, what did he say, $161 million?
Mm-hmm.
He named it Barf, and that offended you?
Yeah, and you still had a problem? But he didn't take anything away from you?
Yeah, like Michael Keaton Like, you took his fucking company essentially away. Is the big job they were going to have.
Yeah.
And he has a family to raise, and all his guys have to get paid. So I understand Michael Keaton's frustration towards Tony Stark there. But Quentin Beck, like, yeah.
And the other people, too, you're like, what?
Yeah.
The evil League of Evil, but it was like the super. It felt so cartoony. That was the problem I had with it. It wasn't like where Michael Keaton kind of had a sympathetic, more realistic vision of why he was an enemy of Tony Stark. This was just because, they didn't appreciate him, and now he's dead, so let's take his vengeance. And if you read the origins of Mysterio, he was a Hollywood actor who could do illusions, is my understanding, if I'm not mistaken. So it was a kind of a turn from that to him just being a guy who worked for Tony Stark, and, he took his invention and used it for something else, which, to be fair, though, it was a pretty cool, series of events into where it came from. I just felt like it was kind of cartoonishly evil.
So can we all agree that we dislike Jake Gyllenhaal as a whole the most, probably?
Yeah, I did.
I think he did a good job, but I think that they made Mysterio too cartoony, was my opinion.
Who's your favorite actor or actress, Angie?
In that one?
Yes, in this one.
Usually it's Samuel L. Jackson, but I told Becky, towards the beginning, something was off with him. That's I don't know if they're deliberately writing him that way, but I really liked Tom Holland, and I like Zendaya. I think those are good.
They're a cute little couple.
Yeah, the thing with Samuel L. Jackson is throughout the entire movie, Angie was like, that something is wrong with him because he was so gullible about everything.
And he was mean, where Nick Fury is sarcastic.
Yeah, very dry.
This guy was kind of hateful at times and mean, and that's not Nick Fury.
Right. Nope. And he kept being like, you need to buck up and
you'll
become...
do what I say. And it's like, Nick Fury never has to say that.
No.
You're just going to do what he says because he said it.
Yeah. You just don't get that same feeling. And even, it just was a strange, which we have to talk about why it ended up being that way, but it was a strange sequence. I didn't know, and I told Angie, I thought maybe it was because he had been gone for 5 years, and now he suddenly didn't know what was going on because he had been snapped out or blipped out. But
and I think that was my first problem because it's like, wait, you're Nick Fury. Within a week of being back, you would have been on top of everything.
Yeah.
But,
mine's probably Zendaya because I really appreciate the fact that she figured out that Peter Parker was Spider-Man. Because
I thought I was only 68% right.
yeah, because I was that trope of people not realizing Superman's latest Clark Kent with glasses. That always frustrated me. But there's been a shift into where you had Amy Adams as Lois Lane realizing, oh, he's Superman. And then there's Zendaya in this.
It just didn't make any sense. You have Spider-Man showing up conveniently in all these places where Peter Parker disappears. Even the kid, the guy that had a crush on Zendaya, was saying, does anybody else not find it weird that he just randomly disappears and everybody's okay with it? I felt like it was kind of breaking the fourth wall about superhero movies where everybody's just oh, he just kind of disappeared. Where did he go? I guess nothing happened.
And he's going to weirdly stay with family in Berlin? What?
Yeah, where did his family come from?
Right.
And it was funny thinking about Zendaya, though. If you watch the scene where he jumps out from the bus to stop the kill threat, I told Angie, if you watch it, she's not looking out the window. She's staring directly at him while all this is happening. So it's she's not stupid.
I thought Marissa Tomei did a great job.
She
too.
did.
Oh my God, she was probably my favorite character toward the end too. She's like, it's just a summer. They're Happy and her talking about their relationship.
We can still be friends no matter what comes of it.
Yeah, it's just a summer fling. Love doesn't have to be a thing, and they're just talking at each other. I was like, oh my God, this is hilarious.
It's adorable.
And she's still so hot. All these years later.
She's in her late 40s or 50s now, right?
Yeah.
Something like that.
I would say late 50s to 60s.
Oh wow, she looks great.
Yeah, because when I was a kid, she was an adult.
Oh dang!
She's older.
Well, she looking like she working out.
She's the best looking
Aunt May
for sure.
That's my favorite meme though, where it's they keep showing Aunt May de-aging, and then by the end of it, she's 12 years old, and Peter Parker's in the embryo or whatever.
I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah, she's 54.
Wow, she looks great.
She looks great for 54.
I would totally date her. Marissa Tomei, if you're listening, I'm single. But yeah, what was y'all's favorite scenes?
Oh man, I don't think they did the illusion part really good. The second part of it, where he puts his Spidey or his Peter Tingle. He uses his Peter Tingle in order to fight Mysterio without seeing it. Because throughout the movie, if you haven't seen it yet, Mysterio is using the illusion of these things to happen so he can become an Avenger or
Yeah.
become as powerful as an Avenger. So he's able to manipulate Spider-Man's mind into thinking these things are happening. Well, in the second or the third act, when he's actually fighting Mysterio, he like puts on his like ninja glasses and he's like, be one with your senses, Luke, or whatever. It was almost like he used the Force.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was fighting the illusions without having to use it. I thought that was a really cool use of like showing that he was more so Spider-Man and Peter Parker.
What about you, Angie?
Well, I like the same scene, but it also made me feel incredibly sad, especially when he thinks Quentin Beck is dying on the floor and he's talking to him. And then he grabs his hand right before he shoots him in the head, and he turns and he says, "You can't fool me anymore." I thought it was really sad because he has come of age at that point. You realize he did lose his naive, childlike qualities. He doesn't trust. He's an adult now. And I thought that was sad.
And I think it is sad because throughout the movie, I think he's looking for a Tony Stark replacement. Like Tony Stark was like his father figure, and then this guy comes in who, for all intents and purposes in his head, is the next superhero, and he kind of idolizes what he is, but that's not who he is. So he kind of has to take it into his own hands.
And you can even see it in Peter Parker's eyes at the time. Like he's tearing up and crying because he's realizing about himself. He can't be Peter Parker, high school student.
Yep, I gotta be Spider-Man first. That's how it starts. That's what happened in the Raimi stuff. Like that's why him and MJ broke up a couple times. He's like he couldn't commit. He had to be a Spider-Man first.
Which they never say Mary Jane or Mary Jane Watson like they do. It's her name is Michelle in it. But I like that they've kind of taken the like helpless woman act that Mary Jane had, and sort of switched it around to where MJ is more so logical, a little crazy, although I do appreciate all of her little comments she makes. But it's not that she has to be rescued. It's that she's capable enough. She just can't help as much as she would if she was a superhero.
That's hard. I really like the after credit scene because I'm like, it's gonna get real serious.
Can I just say I appreciate J.K. Simmons coming back as J.J. Jameson?
Yeah, J. Jonah Jameson. Yes.
So he comes back as like the guy from the first original Spider-Man.
God, he is that character.
Yeah.
I swear the comic book drew him before they even knew he existed.
And there's like nobody who could have replaced him in that scene.
No,
he's perfect. It's iconic at that point. That's it. Besides the farmers insurance commercials he does, J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah. Just the only difference now is he has like a mustache or something a little different.
Yeah, but I'm really excited to see where this goes because I want to see Peter Parker as a fugitive and stuff. This will be very, very interesting.
Well, and I told Angie what I appreciated about it is it's almost the reverse of what happened with Iron Man because we're in like the new phase of Marvel movies, whereas Iron Man comes out and says, "I'm Tony Stark and I'm Iron Man." This was like, this is Peter Parker and he's Spider-Man. So it's like,
and he's a really bad guy. So
yeah, it's
believe
like,
me, even though everything you saw points to the opposite.
Right.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm thinking is like, how can nobody in like the world be like, no, this is not what happened. You know what I mean?
Look at the hashtag fake news thing we're going on right now in our society.
Well, and I appreciated that because they made J.J. Jameson or whatever his name
J.
is.
Jonah Jameson. Just call him
J. Jonah
JJJ.
Jameson. That's what it is. I call him JJ. They made him like the kooky, like far right or left wing, whichever one you want to go with, like conservative, crazy conspiracy guy instead of it being like the Daily Bugle being a legitimate newspaper in New York City.
What y'all think of like the action scenes in the CGI? Because especially in this one, I think there's a much higher CGI budget with all the elementals and everything. What y'all think of it?
I thought it was decent. I really did enjoy, especially I was mind blown when Spider-Man, when he first took him into the illusionary world. That was pretty good.
That scared me, especially like the scene where it looks like Nick Fury has shot Mysterio.
I thought when Iron Man zombified.
Oh yeah, that was terrifying.
Yeah.
That was like that could play on your nightmares. When I saw that, I was like, oh hell no, oh hell no, you don't do that to my BB, Tony Stark. That's so sad. I think it was good CGI. There was, I think, in the illusion scene, you could tell like Spider-Man was like a CGI. It was kind of like CGI'd out a little bit, but I think overall they did a really good job, especially the fact that everything was supposed to be an illusion within a real world. So I think the fact that there was a little bit of unrealism to it, I think it played to the part that it was still an illusion.
I'm a picky bitch, so when it comes to CGI, so there's like one or two scenes where when he's web swinging, you could clearly tell. But besides that, it was pretty good. I liked it. I mean, it's like, give like CGI-wise like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10.
I think it was, I think it was pretty decent. I think they definitely did the illusion scenes really well, though.
Now, we briefly discussed this before we started the show. Where do you guys think this is going to lead the MCU in the future?
And Warlock.
Yeah, that'd be sick.
I think it's setting up for maybe where in like the Age of Ultron and all that, where the Avengers were kind of the bad guy. I think they're setting it up to be more of a heroic belief in the Avengers and more so of this like realistic, are they good guys, are they bad guys?
I want to see, did you ever read Dark Reign? So pretty much Norman Osborn becomes the U.S. president and makes his own team of Avengers. Like he's Iron Patriot. You have Abomination as the Hulk. You have there's a bunch of villains as the Avengers. So I'm hoping that it comes down the line because we already have the Iron Patriot costume we can use.
Yeah.
So I'm like, come on, that'd be sick. I'd be super excited.
Well, I think this is also a good introduction into the Sinister Six.
Yes, yeah.
And I really wonder if they're gonna try and do the Fantastic Four now.
Oh, they do have the rights, so it's a strong possibility, and the X-Men too.
Which it's kind of funny that Chris Evans played one of the guys from Fantastic Four. Now he's Captain America. Now somebody else has to come back.
Oh, can he reprise himself as Johnny Storm?
That would actually be hilarious. How do you get Chris Evans back into the show? You make him play Johnny Storm.
Where do y'all rank this at all the MCU films? Like the upper tier, mid tier, lower tier?
For me, it was upper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I thought it was good.
I think they did a good job. I was worried that it would be like depressing Electric Boogaloo or something because of the way Endgame ended. But I think they set the tone really well when they pulled up this Comic Sans in memoriam and all of the Getty images and doing the sad Whitney Houston music at the very beginning, talking about the blip. I think they did a good job of not making it super depressing and like going and looking at the sadness that is the fact that Tony Stark died. But I think they still set a good mood for it.
Yeah, they addressed it, but they didn't carry the movie.
Well, this is why I think it's Darkseid coming up, because they had a Captain Marvel movie that doesn't really fit in anywhere, except she helps Adam Warlock.
Yep.
With Darkseid.
Right, because we talked about it. You don't even see Captain Marvel throughout most of the Avengers Endgame.
And she says she's dealing with way worse out in the universe. Yeah. Well, that's Darkseid.
So Darkseid. It could be there's Galactus. It could be like there's tons of things. It could be. That's why I'm excited because like we don't know, and I'm like
right.
Now we get to watch all those videos on YouTube, but theories for the MCU stuff. Like this little speck right here means this. It's gonna be fun. I put it up your tier as well. I don't put it above Winter Soldier. That's my favorite. I love Winter Soldier. It's so good. But I probably put it in my top, probably top 10 MCU films. It's good.
Yeah, I think it was a good introduction into the next phase of the Marvel movies. Because if you kind of screw this one up, you're setting a bad tone for the next ones that are coming. So I'll be happy to see what they do with it. It was funny though that there are literally no Avengers left on Earth. All of them are basically gone. Well, Avengers that could help him. It was just like, Thor was in space with Guardians, which I'm really excited to see that. And then I guess you could have called Black Panther and all that, but I think they really are trying to look at Spider-Man being the next leader of the Avengers, and you kind of get that.
Well, and since they waited so long to call on him, you start thinking that they really did try. Nick Fury, from where he was, really did try to let him just be a kid for a while. Mm-hmm. Like, they did make an effort, but it got to the point where they thought they had to.
Yep.
Because nobody else was there, so it isn't like they're trying to take him too early.
I think the only one available is the Hulk, but he's still probably messed up from the gauntlet, so he probably can't do a whole lot.
Mm-hmm. And it was, you kind of see it with that scene where they're on the airplane and Peter Parker's like making his spider suit, and it kind of looks like Tony Stark, how he makes his Iron Man suit. Mm-hmm. And it kind of made me a little choke up because it's like you see that he is going to take it on. He just has to get used to the idea. He's not the next Iron Man, but he is as smart as Tony Stark, and Tony Stark did leave it in his hands, and he knew he could handle it. I did like that he was like, Tony always second-guessed himself all the time. The only thing he never second-guessed was you.
Oh, I was like, oh, so sweet.
Which is also kind of worrisome because Tony second-guessing himself is what led to him eventually being right.
Yep.
So when I heard that line, I was like, oh, wait a minute.
I like you're like, wait a second.
That's Tony's thing. He always rethought it and came up with something better.
No.
14 billion
I'm not saying that's the case here, but that's what I thought of. I was like,
I could see it. I mean, sometimes you're just doomed to fail at some point, but then pick yourself back up.
We're just waiting for I know Angie is waiting for the MCU to buy X-Men so we can have the crossover that Angie's always
they
waiting
do.
for.
They do.
They
have
do. They
them.
own Fox now. Disney owns
Yeah.
Fox.
Oh shit!
Yeah, so
shit!
And the theory is, I don't know if I told y'all this before. The theory is due to the 3 snaps on Earth, people think that because of the snaps, there was enough gamma radiation that came from those to create mutants. That's the theory. How we're gonna get mutants.
Oh.
I just want to see Hugh Jackman in an MCU movie. I know it's not going to happen.
I wish.
But
I'd love it.
he's always going to be Wolverine. It's like how Robert Downey Jr. is always going to be Spider-Man, Iron Man.
Spooderman.
You know what? As someone who wasn't a big Spider-Man fan, watching this movie gave me a good appreciation for Spider-Man.
Mhm.
He was decent in the other ones, but you're still more about Tony Stark in those. But this was the first time I actually watched the movie for Spider-Man.
Yeah, because
I was like, oh, he's pretty badass.
You didn't have that Tony Stark interference like you did in Homecoming, where he was in a
Yeah.
lot of it. No, this
Right.
is Spider-Man's film.
Well,
rather than like,
And Night Monkey. That's
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Night Monkey
Night
was so
Monkey.
funny.
yeah.
And the thing is, like,
Night the Monkey.
and you have to give it to Tom Holland because really it wasn't that he was kind of a side character being carried by the already pre-established characters. He had to carry this movie himself, and he did a great job. I think he's my favorite Spider-Man so far.
Oh yeah.
I didn't
Easily.
And he
like.
looks great in that suit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
he looks like Spider-Man.
Mhm.
And he's got a nice little cute booty.
Oh,
did.
and he's not like a 30-year-old man trying to play a fucking high
Right.
schooler
Right,
or
yeah.
something. He's a kid.
Well, I think he's like 20 or so
Yeah,
he
he's
can
young.
pull it off. And he,
Mhm.
as Spider-Man grows, he can grow with the
Yeah,
character.
and he's super he spoils shit
oh,
on
I
talk
love
shows,
it.
and it's funny as
I
hell.
love that he has to go before all of these new trailers now and be like, "Hi, I'm Tom Holland. Please, Holland. Please don't
starters.
spoil the movie.
Yeah.
Enjoy it." And then it's like that's your punishment for spoiling all these movies when they come out.
So I safely assume we can all recommend everyone should see Spider-Man: Far From Home.
I
Yes.
definitely agree.
Yes.
Now y'all ready to move on to some spooky shit?
Oh my god. This was what I've been excited for. Thanks, Game of Thrones, for screwing up season 8. We were all excited for Stranger Things.
But yeah, moving on to Stranger Things season 3. It's 1985. Big hair, neon lights, in Hawkins, Indiana. It's heating up. It's hot outside. You know, it's summer. School's out. There's a brand new mall in town. The Hawkins crew on the cusp of adulthood. Romance blossoms and complicates the group's dynamic, and they'll have to figure out how to grow up without growing apart. That was really weirdly written.
It was written well, but it's hard to pull off.
True. Meanwhile, danger looms. When the town's threatened by enemies old and new, Eleven and her friends are reminded that evil never ends, it evolves. Now they have to band together to survive and remember that friendship is always stronger than fear. Yeah, but this season was gas. I'm giving it a 10 out of 10. That's a spoiler-free review. 10 out of 10. Way better than season 2. Perfect.
All right.
Yeah,
We all agree with that.
Yeah.
I give it just a 9.5 out of 10 because I think season 1 was perfect. Like in the sense that it was like it set the tone for it, and it's hard to come off of that.
What about you, Angie?
I thought it was a good season.
You weren't a bit. Oh,
Yeah. No, I thought it was good.
okay.
I'm not at 9 and 10 out of 10 though.
What are you
Oh.
at?
I'm like 7.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, it's decent.
What would you give? What show? Any show would you give a 10 out of 10 season on?
Buffy.
Okay.
That's fair.
I can't argue with that because I was thinking, what could it be? I was thinking for some reason you were going to say like the OA or the 100, but
No, the OA I would still say a 7.
okay.
It was good, but it's weird. Although the second half of the OA first season was phenomenal.
Okay.
I still have to watch it. I need to. I have so many things to watch on my Netflix queue. But I was busy watching this. But yeah, most of the cast returns. You get some newcomers. I'm trying to figure out who's a newcomer. Who's Alexi's actor? Shit, I didn't get him on here. Now I'm sad. Or Smirnoff's actor. He was the best.
The
newcomer.
Russian guy.
He was great.
He was just a cinnamon
sweet
roll.
baby.
Just the cinnamon of
He's
roll.
one to watch Looney Tunes all day and drink cherry Slurpees.
Okay, I feel like I need to clarify.
Sure.
When we look at the Dustin storyline with Hare Harrington,
Yeah, Steve.
that I would give a 10 out of 10.
Mhm.
I was exceptionally uncomfortable with the sexualizing of kids. And I get that they're coming
Yeah.
into age and stuff, but it really made me feel awkward.
There was some like the making out scene, like that first one between.
Yeah.
I was like, this is really awkward. I don't know if this is what they're going for. But I was like, at the same
Mhm.
time, it's like they're 13, 14 hormonal
Oh, and yeah,
kids.
and your kids. And he was so awful to Hopper, Mike was.
Oh yeah, he was a shitbag.
Yeah, and I was just like, it kind of made me really dislike that character.
But you know what's funny is looking at it from our perspective, when you start to like agree with Hopper, It's like, I'm an adult now.
Yeah, we're fucking old.
Yeah, Hopper was right the entire time. But like Uma Thurman's daughter is Robin in the show.
Mhm.
Oh, and let me clarify. When we say making out, they were just like innocent kissing.
You're not
Yeah.
I
tongue,
don't
no
even
tongue,
think
no
there was
tongue.
tongue.
No
they were
friendship.
just smoochy smooches.
No
Maya
tongue.
Hawke was her name, was Robin's character.
Yeah, but I get what you, and I do agree with the answer to that. Was like, it felt very, the season in some aspects felt like a John, I think I texted y'all like a John Hughes movie in some aspects.
Yeah. But that might be what they were going for because it was the 80s.
It was the 80s.
And
yeah.
that is John Hughes. I
Yeah.
hate John Hughes movies, by the way.
Really? I like
Yeah.
16 Candles.
The
I
Breakfast
love the Molly Ringwald movies.
Yeah.
Love 'em.
Breakfast Club?
16 Candles?
It's-
Come on. You didn't cry during 16 Candles?
No.
I'm not saying that I'm as into the Breakfast Club as most people,
Yeah.
but it was decent for what it was.
Mm-hmm. It's for the time especially. It
I
was
really
pretty good.
dislike Ferris Bueller. You want to talk about a shitty movie? It's that one.
And there was a reference to it too, that opening scene between Nancy and Will's older Jonathan, where she throws her stuff out the window and runs right across the lawn. I was like, oh, that's Ferris Bueller. Also great because she's sneaking away from the mom.
Yeah.
Do I feel like his mom will be okay with them like sleeping in the same bed together?
Oh, she
Joyce
totally
seems super
knew.
chill.
But it
Yeah.
was funny because Angie was like, the thing about Stranger Things is that there's always like 3 separate storylines going,
Yeah.
and then like the last 2 episodes they converge.
And they all meet up, and they all have different pieces of the story
Yep.
they need. Except Joyce was only concerned with magnets.
That was
Oh
the
my
best.
god, that was
I-
hilarious.
I love that there's a thing on Reddit, and it was like in the forum, it was like all Joyce worried about in season 3, magnets. Fucking men.
Like, she hears about evil scream monster. We got to figure out about these magnets.
Yeah, these are
She
real.
was focused on that machine, and she was not deviating.
Which, good for her, because most of the time she's kind of been a doormat. And it was toward the
No,
end of
she's
last
just
season.
strong.
Yeah, end of last
Mhm.
season, she was like, get out of my son to the mind flayer. So I think this time she was like, I ain't playing this time. I'm not waiting until my kid gets possessed by some interdimensional being.
No, she was like, you opened the goddamn door, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
opened the door.
And the best part was like she was the best PTA mom, like yelling at
Mhm.
like the government and everything like that. That was hilarious.
She didn't really curse. She was like, this goddamn door.
So who's y'all's favorite actor / actress this season? Who progressed the most that you felt? You know what I'm saying? Who's your favorite?
Well, I think we pretty much know for me, Winona Ryder.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and I
she's
thought
made
Millie
it.
Bobby Brown did a great job too.
Yes, she
Yeah.
gets to talk finally
Yeah.
in the season.
Yeah, she's finally kind of come into being like a
Mhm.
girl,
and her own person, which
and-
Yeah.
I liked that.
Yeah, and I think it was nice for her to be girlfriends with Max, so she would learn, like, okay, I don't have to be, like, this being that lives in, like, a cabin in the woods or whatever. I can be my own person. I just love her being like, I dump your ass. Like,
That was
she had
funny.
no idea what it meant, I think. She was just like, whatever.
Mine's still Steve. You know, you got the
I
hair.
love Steve.
Yeah.
And also,
I-
we got a first
Steven-
confirmed bi. Is she gay or bi?
She's gay.
She's gay.
She's gay? Okay.
And that
Character.
was totally cool.
Yeah.
I really like Steve. Becky and I were talking, he is the mom of the series, but then Dustin came through as the dad.
Yep.
And that little girl, Erica,
Holy
Hilarious.
shit. She is what I want to be when I grow up.
commence Operation Child Endangerment.
Can we change the name of that?
Please.
No, because this is what it is.
To be honest, I think Steve, Dustin, Robin, and Erica had the best part of the entire
They did
show.
the best, some of the best chemistry because you didn't have
Yeah.
all the romance stuff to worry
Yeah,
about
it
with the other
wasn't
group.
super awkward,
Yeah.
and I think it did a good
It
job.
was still about friendship.
Right.
I think those 4 were still the friendship.
Yeah, and Dustin finally had to be daddy because
Mhm.
Steve was I love that Steve is like LGBTQA ally and single mom. Oh,
Hey.
the best kind. Because everybody, you always assume when they introduce the new girl that's going to be Steve's new. Like,
And they were
boo.
hinting at it severely. Like
And
Dustin
Dustin
was like,
liked
"Hey,
her.
man,"
And they
he's
had
like,
great chemistry
Yeah.
together. So
But when he was like talking around the bush about how he liked her, and she's like, "Oh no,"
Yeah.
it's like, "What is it? Is she a monster?" Like,
yeah, but
is
then
she
it turned out they
flayed?
were just bros. Like, and Steve handled it perfectly. He was because they were talking about
He's like,
what
"Ah,
Tammy Thompson.
Thompson's a douche.
Yeah, she's like, she's such a bitch. No, she's not. She looks really weird. It's like he
she
finally
can't
has the
sing,
bro
she
he
can't
needs.
hold a tune.
Right. She was a bro that he needed.
Mhm.
But they were awful to Will. And that
I
was hard to
know.
watch. That was really hard to watch. But then it's like, why are you still in 5-year-old shorts?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that bowl cut.
Yeah, I said same thing to Becky.
I think they're
Girl-
heavily hinting at him being gay too, because you hear Mike say to him, "I know you
I
don't
know
like
you don't like girls.
but it's like that awkward moment where it's like, do you not like girls because you haven't hit puberty, or is it because?
But his voice has changed, so you know he's hit puberty.
yeah, or is it because you just don't like girls in that way?
Mhm.
So I felt really bad for him because I think he just wanted to keep his
Friends together.
innocence and his kids and be like that, but everybody's growing
Growing
up.
up.
Which there's nothing wrong with playing D&D children of the 80s. I'm just saying I would still be playing it now.
And the Satanic Panic reference.
Oh, my
my
God, that was
God.
great. I was like, yes, because I was waiting for that because we had so many other references. Like the Russian guy was the Terminator, clearly.
Oh man, we said
Yeah.
that. I was like, is this mini Arnold Schwarzenegger or some shit?
Like Dolph Lundgren,
yeah.
Terminator, and then we not only the 80s, we also had with the Flayed. It was like, oh, this is the invasion of the Bystanders. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And that scene at the end of episode 4, where it's like sing that song, which we all come together and they're all in that fucking factory. Oh, I got fucking chills. That was my favorite scene.
It was
That was my favorite scene.
They did a good job with that. I would say though, Alexi was probably my favorite character this season.
He did a really
I
good
guess I'll
job.
just I like Strawberry
And
too.
I think none of us will ever like Susie because her making Dustin sing that song cost people their lives.
yeah.
I mean, I
fucking-
get she didn't know what was going on, but
Yeah.
he did tell you the world was at stake, and you're by God.
Yeah, that
12,
30-second monologue or that 30-second jingle of the never-ending story. Spoiler alert.
I think this movie was like a minute. They sang the whole thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was that I get it's supposed to be comic relief and stuff, but like
Mhm.
you don't do it at the climax, that could have been like earlier
Yeah.
and stuff.
Well, if you think
Yeah.
about it in like the timeline of a realistic timeline for Stranger Things, if they hadn't done that, Hopper would still be here.
Susie, you goddamn
Think about it,
bitch.
because she had
I'm
the
gonna
pants.
fuck you
That's
up.
what I'm saying. I mean, who's gonna like Susie after this?
Nobody.
Yeah,
You little twat.
fucking Susie.
He told you it was the fate of the world was at stake.
She's like our Karen now. Fucking
Fuck
Susie.
Karen.
Though, so I do have there isn't out technically. So Dustin probably told her that he likes playing D&D. So she could have thought maybe they're role playing or something like that.
Yeah.
That might have been what it was. Because, like, remember, Steve and Dustin only told other people about the gate when they had to, and all that bullshit's happened before.
Mhm.
So maybe that's what it is. But she still killed my dad.
Honestly, for the first second though, and I forgot that we were in 1985. I kept thinking, why don't they just fucking Google it? And then I was like, oh wait,
yeah.
Google's not a thing. My bad.
They had Max then, right? But they didn't. There's no internet, obviously.
Right. But yeah, in that point, they wouldn't have been able. They would
Nope.
have to go to a book. They had to go to the library, pull up the little code. What is it called? The
Dewey Decimal System.
Dewey Decimal System, and go through it and find it that way. I'm so glad the internet exists now. Just imagine. That's why, like, the climax of it, like that, wouldn't be as scary now because it'd be like, hold on, I found it. Yay, Google.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it's the 80s, so it's whatever. But speaking of like the references and stuff, did you feel like they went with the story really well? Or did you feel like they stuck out too much in some aspects?
I think they did a good job, like
Mhm.
referencing it in, like integrating it into the references.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Especially like the fact that, this day and age, everybody who's a terrorist is like the Middle Easterns. They go back to the 80s where it's the Russians.
Yep. There was only one that was egregious: the new Coke bit. And I get it, because Coke paid them money to do it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, but yeah, that was.
And it was really well done, though.
Yeah, that was
like,
just egregious,
Lucas is
like-
like, no, it's delicious. And they're like, no, it's not. It's horrible.
Did y'all see the Burger King reference too?
Yes.
Yeah.
When
On
Hopper
that
walks
bag.
it? Yeah, I was like, oh, there we go again.
I had a friend on Facebook who was like, all of this watching Stranger Things makes me want Burger King, y'all.
Well, they're doing the upside down Whopper right now.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah, that's
It's
right.
literally just a Whopper upside down. I'm like,
Can I just go back for a second and
Sure.
mention that the references were so good? Like, even I had to go back to Reddit. Angie caught, like, the one where it was, like, where China has something in the coded Russian thing, and she looks, when Robin is standing in the mall trying to code it out, and they said where China is looking for something, it's a good time in China, and she looks and sees the place called Dog on a Stick.
Oh no!
But they'd already shown
yeah.
that place when they
No,
showed them
yeah.
making the corn dogs.
I get it. Yeah.
I was like, oh, but I think they did a great job putting, like, little inferences as metaphors in. I think it was good.
No, I thought they did way better than the last season and stuff. Like this felt like it went with the story more, like the mall bit
Right.
and
Because
everything.
11 last season when she went off and did her, runaway goth
Punk
chick
thing, yeah.
What?
Her Amish journey.
And it's like,
Yeah.
what?
And those
What?
they're gonna come back too at some point. Hopefully
Yeah.
they do it better.
It felt like the X-Men almost. Like she was
Yeah.
meeting up with the
Mhm.
X-Men almost. And it didn't, it
Like
was
she
so,
was Jubilee is what it
yeah, it felt like it was disjointed from what Stranger Things was, which it was such a
Mhm.
focus on this little town.
And that's why I like this season because compared to season 2, this season was definitely more streamlined. Like, yeah, the first 2 episodes are kind of slow, but once that setup gets going, it's fucking
Yeah.
Mhm.
no real slowdown. And I wanted to point out, just how do you pronounce the Billy's actor's name? Montgomery.
Dacre Montgomery.
He was really good
He
this
was really
season.
good,
Yeah.
As playing the mind flayer.
Mind
Flayer.
Mind Flayer.
Mind Flayer host. Like that voice he did when he's talking to Eleven in her fucking I don't say a dream when she's in her trance state.
Yeah.
That was fucking scary. I was like, oh shit, because imagine if he had absorbed her, getting her powers. They all fucked. They all dead.
Yeah.
Like, there's no way.
Yeah.
Like they all fucked.
I think he did it because he kind of just sets him up as like the antithesis to Steve last season.
Yeah.
This season, it's in the weirdest sense, he kind of had the most character development
Yes.
from the fact that he was taken over by this mind flayer. Although it was so gross that he was hitting on Mike's mom. I mean, I'm sorry, but it was just nasty. And I told Angie, I was like, how does she have makeup on after she's swimming in a pool? Is this like an 80s thing? Like the makeup just stays on your face?
Yeah,
Like
you sprayed your face with hairspray and it would set it.
Really?
Now they make makeup that stays on your face when you get in the pool.
that's nasty.
That couldn't have been good for your skin at
Yeah.
all. That was
Oh,
been
I
awful.
got it.
But no, the only thing I was disappointed, I wish there had been a Steve and Billy part 2 instead. Because I think, when I saw him like running towards the car, I'm like, oh, here it comes, and they crash. Like, oh, they're gonna get out and duke it out now. Steve's gonna win 2 fights this season, and it didn't happen. I was like, oh, but I get it. I mean, it's better for the story. That's just my fan bullshit. I
think they really wanted, because Steve and Dustin were like the duo in season 2 that people love so much
the
that
best
they
part of
wanted to make that more of a thing.
Mhm.
And I'm so glad they did, and introduced Erica, who was the sister of Lucas. Yeah. So she had such a catitude that I think they just played off of each other so well.
Just getting them free samples. Hey, I used to do that shit too when I was a kid. I used to always do that shit.
I felt so
Going to
angry.
Baskin Robbins.
I tried the pecan swirl.
Yeah.
You tried that yesterday.
No, you tried that 5 minutes ago. I want to try it again.
Well, it took me a second to realize who this is. Like, why are they giving this particular character so much screen time? Like, oh.
When she realizes she's a nerd as well.
Yeah, the My Little Pony thing, that was funny.
Yeah.
Because that's like a shot like bronies out there everywhere,
It really
too.
was.
And it's like this is where we had the Little Ponies faces. What's that? Don't worry about it right now.
I did appreciate, like, and just random stuff, like Max is talking about Billy being in his room at the 4th of July, and he's like, Billy's in his room at the 4th of July. That's not normal. Meanwhile, everybody who was watching that season was sitting in their room.
On the 4th of July, watching.
I'm like,
that was
thanks.
right. Yeah.
Thanks, Stranger Things, for pointing out what we were doing. I enjoyed it.
I mean, we're adults, so I really have to go see the fireworks for the 30th time.
I know, like, and I could hear them from outside in the backyard. It wasn't that exciting.
They were scared of my dogs. I can't leave my dogs alone. That'd be mean. They were scared. The puppers were scared.
Honestly, we were watching it, and it sounded like they were shooting them, like, right by Angie's house. Like, it was going out so loud, I thought we were hearing gunshots.
So we're worried about the dog and we look over.
She's like in dreamland. Meanwhile, we're scared of these mind flayers coming and attacking us. I swear at one point I woke up and I thought there was a mind flayer in the room. I was like, no.
Yeah, so just not going back, but with the Mind Flayer itself, when it had that almost not Lovecraftian, but almost Dave Lynch form too, with all the bodies, I initially thought that Billy was going to transform into that or something like that, because when he initially got in the shower and had the black veiny stuff, I'm like, oh fuck, we're gonna get the fly stuff, like some Jeff Goldblum shit. Thankfully they didn't, because body horror creeps me the fuck out, makes me nauseous. That's like the one thing. That and Saw, can't watch it.
Yeah, I'm kind of sad that they didn't do more with Max at the very end after Billy sacrificed. I mean, she was upset, but it was almost like, oh, let's sing Never-Ending Story 3 months later and making fun of them leaving. But I guess it makes sense because they didn't really have a relationship. But in the end, he did kind of save them from being absorbed by the Mind Flayer.
Yeah, Max and Billy's parents were not in this season at all. Like, except for the flashbacks. They were not, and I was like, that was really weird, because you'd think your fucking son's not here.
Yeah.
And then your daughter's not there either. So I was like, what's going on?
Well, his dad was super abusive.
Yeah, that's a piece of shit. You saw them last season, yeah.
Yeah, but it was kind of strange because you do see them throughout the second season at some point. You just don't see them this season.
Can we disagree that Joyce and Jim were the best parents and everyone else's parents are garbage?
Yes.
And probably they should have been put into the Mind Flayer.
Although Mike's mom did a really good job of being like, we were talking about it when we were watching it, is that the family kind of neglects her, but when Nancy needed to talk to her and Mike needed to talk to her, she was there for them.
Yeah, but she almost cheated on her husband, though.
Yeah, but Joyce was like, and she sees fucking magnets, that's the end of it.
That's it.
She's going to uncover an entire Russian mystery.
And she's going to figure out how to turn off the machine so her magnets work again.
Yes.
She is a mom
on a mission.
I hope in the next season, she's working like I got a Best Buy or something, and she's working the refrigerator section.
That would
Just put
actually... Here's some, and look how magnetized these magnets are on your refrigerator. Bam.
Yeah, but speaking of that, where do you see this leading from here?
Well,
Especially
we
with the
only
after
have one
credits
more
scene.
season, so
I thought it was 5.
I think they said 4.
I don't know. One of the two. It's something. Either we still get more, which is the important thing.
Mhm.
Because my mom was afraid that it's like, are they gonna? Is this the end? I'm like, I fucking hope not.
They could have ended it. This would have been a good ending point, like them moving away and moving on. That could have been a fine ending point, but without the ending credit scene.
well, like, and 11 didn't have her powers.
Nope.
Yeah.
Be a big spoiler alert, but they're not working. You can hear like the creepy music, but nothing's happening.
I think she'll. My theory is that next season she'll get them as a Deus Ex Machina, where it's like, someone's gonna die. She doesn't. Oh, they're back, which is fine.
Which is a total like
Yeah.
80s movie thing.
Yeah. I'm wondering with them moving that, since the Mind Flayer's still alive, obviously it's just stuck in there. If that shit's gonna spread to where 11 is now with the buyers and everything. But yeah.
Oh, he's flayed.
Yeah.
It got him.
That was one of the things I didn't like about the season, though, is because there really wasn't an explanation as to why she lost her powers, other than she like overused.
Yeah, I think
them.
that's what it was. Because
She had just had to recharge.
Because if you go like to previous seasons, she used them a ton in the season. I was like, is she gonna be okay?
And she used them hardcore.
Yeah,
like ripped the flare in half.
Threw
Picked the car. and threw
yeah.
it. Yeah, she went overboard.
Yeah, I think she's just a little like. I think they'll be back next season. I hope, because once they come, like, how are they gonna beat Russia's army of fucking Demogorgons?
Yeah.
Which can they have like little fucking Soviet hats? Can that be funny?
That's
as
how
shit,
you
like
know.
Demodog?
That's adorable.
Yeah.
And I think that's where they're going to go with it, is that Russia now has this like technology, quote unquote, of the Demogorgons, and they're going to start using it as their weapons of mass destruction. And so I don't know if it's going to be on a bigger global level, if that's what they're looking at. But I think that at this point, there's only so much you can do with Hawkins, Indiana, before somebody's like, isn't it kind of weird that all this weird... I mean, even at the end of the season, you see these news clippings and these news stories about like a small hometown or death trap.
That was great. Is it cursed?
Is it cursed?
Is it Satan's influence? It was
I'm
great.
just impressed that they had that huge-ass Russian base under that mall. That was impressive.
Yeah, that was the only thing I can believe about the Mind Flayer and all that stuff. That Russian base, though, I was like, isn't this in a year? That seems like a lot. I mean, I guess they had a bunch of people do it, but I was like, fuck, this is a lot to do in a whole year. Like, I imagine trying to smuggle them, to get them in the United States without being caught by, like, not TSA, because that wasn't around back then, but like the Department of Defense and that kind of stuff. That was the only thing that was kind of hokey. But I'm like, and again, you know, it's 80s. Fuck it.
And
Let's have
that's
fun.
exactly what we thought Russia did.
Yeah.
They're tunneling under us.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
I wasn't born yet, so.
This is where I see the series going. I think that they made the statement that 11 is here, which ties them to this world. If she's here, then they're here.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to have to go back or die to
Cut it off.
eliminate it completely. I see like a golden compass ending where Lyra and What's-His-Face had to permanently separate in order to save all the worlds. I think that's what's going to happen.
Oh, man, that'd be so sad.
Because she doesn't fit here. She doesn't belong here.
Do you think we're going to see any more of the numbers besides 8?
Probably.
Yeah.
Or maybe they have to come together and be the next army to end in the interdimensional crisis.
Like the X-Men.
Oh, or maybe they're the men who watch cows. The men who watch sheep.
The men who stare at goats.
Yeah, like, oh yeah, that movie was funny. I like that.
But that was a very real thing that the CIA did.
Yeah.
Was
That's
have these
based on
people.
a true story.
Yeah.
Like the fact that
MK Ultra, that was all real.
I think it's going to be interesting when they do just declassify a lot of the stuff from the 80s, what they were really doing to test things.
Mm-hmm.
So.
I want Steve to become a sheriff of Hawkins. I want that so badly. He's got the hair. He's got to grow Hopper's mustache, and we're set. My boy Steve, I just want you to grow up and be a big boy. I love Steve. He's my favorite. My boy. What about you, Beckles? What do you want? What do you think?
I don't want 11 to die, but I think Angie might be right about that. Or that the entire group of them have to die in order to stop the interdimensional rifts. I just want to see Steve have a happy ending. That's all I want. I feel like at the very end of the day, all these characters, I like them fine, but Steve is an LGBTQ ally and a single mom, and he deserves the best life he can live. Angie?
Mm-hmm. And I think something's up with Robin.
Oh, yeah. Angie has a theory about Robin.
Okay.
Well,
yeah.
because she says when Steve is saying stuff, she says, you and your friends wouldn't like who I am. She didn't say what I am. She said who I am. You wouldn't like me if you truly knew me. And he has absolutely no memory of her in school. None of them do. And they all know each other.
She could be a number.
Yeah. And I very well think that she is something akin to that because, okay, it makes sense why Steve Harrington didn't recognize her, but the kids would have. Dustin should have recognized her. He knew everybody.
Nancy, too.
Yeah. And none of them knew who she was.
That would be.
I mean, the other explanation, the surface explanation, is that because she was a quote-unquote loser, she was kind of invisible.
But so was Mike and Dustin and them.
And so was Barbara wasn't that popular either. And
right.
It stung out with her. So.
And you never seen Robin before. I mean, if you're not focused on the character, you wouldn't have seen her. But, you know, that's a completely obvious idea is maybe there is something up with her.
I like that. And then the whole who the American is.
Yeah.
In the Russian prison.
And I think it's a good switch up because everybody thought last season Bob Newby was there was some nonsense up about him, but he ended up being a good guy. Meanwhile, nobody has any question about Robin, and then she turns out to be like a Russian Soviet spy or something crazy like that.
That would be really cool. Because that makes, well, I don't know if she could be a spy, because then, like, why would she want to, like, help them, you know?
Well, not only that, but we saw Steve injected with truth juice.
Yeah.
We didn't see Robin injected.
True. So she could have been. Oh, maybe she's maybe the Russians had their own, like, numbers.
Yeah.
But remember, she also is the one that translated all of that stuff.
True.
But she never spoke Russian. As good as we are with different languages, I couldn't, like, translate. You know, I couldn't translate something from Greek to French or whatever.
So do we think the American's Hopper, or it's a Dr. Bremer from season 1?
Well, I kind of feel like the crazy animal thing that stood up on its feet is Dr. Bremer. I think they merged. I think they evolved them, and I think the American in the cell is Hopper. But that's just me.
That would make sense
because you don't see his burned goopy remains. It made a specific point at the beginning of the other one to show when the machine blew up, it left these melted remains. Yep. You didn't see that with Hopper in them.
I hope Hopper's not dead. He's my boy.
My theory is that Hopper got pulled into the interdimensional rift. And then when the Russians were going after to get these Demogorgons out, they have another portal. They're opening portals.
Yeah.
And at some point, they came across the Demogorgon. They also came across Hopper and put him in.
Mm-hmm.
I literally have a shirt that says Mornings for Coffee and Contemplation. I fucking love Hopper. I have a coffee mug that says that too.
I know. 3 inches, always. 3 inches minimum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Hopper's.
And that's probably about the size of Mike's penis at the time, too.
And we did it.
We went full circle. Or no, we fully rotated.
Oh my God, let's end the episode. I'm done.
We ended it on an upside down note.
Would y'all want to add anything else?
No.
I think Angie's 3-inch comment is about as good as it's going to get.
We hit it. Ending the show. But, so Becky, where can they find us?
You can find us in the Upside Down.
Sweet.
You can also find us on Facebook at The Free Rotation Podcast.
And on Spotify.
You can find us on Twitter at The Free Rotation.
Don't we have our own website?
We can also find us on YouTube and Twitch at The Free Rotation and Instagram at The Free Rotation Podcast.
SoundCloud.
Yeah, what they said. We're at TheFreeRotation.com. We're also affiliated with Weeby Geeks. Check us out on there with all the other great podcasts at WeebyGeeksPC.com. Hey, if you have a Twitch Prime, did you know Amazon Prime and Prime Day is coming up? So if you want to use your Twitch Prime on anybody, feel free to use it on us because, hey, we stream stuff too. And if my internet ever works again, I'd love to play Teamfight Tactics. And Angie said she's going to play a scary video game and let the donations scare her. Look at her.
Oh, it's nice to talk to all of you. I'll cut that out.
But anyways, okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.